Good evening. For those of you that are joining our first teletown hall meeting for Lake County government, it's going to be an exciting night, but we have people still joining the line. So we're going to start in about 5 minutes. So hang with us, and we'll tell you a little bit about what's going on with county government before we get started. But we're going to wait for most people to get on the line before we get into the meat of this evening's call. We're also proud to be simulcasting the call in Spanish. I'm Lake County Board Chairman Aaron Lawler, and here with us is our County Administrator Barry Burton and our Communications Manager Jenny Vanna. Got a lot of things going on in Lake County, from infrastructure needs to investing in water and roads. The health department and the courts are big parts of our county budget and our statutory responsibilities, so we're going to talk to you about that too. We're also going to get your feedback on what's going on and see what you think about key issues that define county government. Hang on the line just 1 minute. We're going to be dialing. We're about 10% of the way through, and it's going very fast. Perhaps while we're waiting, I'll have Jenny go over some ground rules for tonight.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. So for those of you that are on the line, we're just going to go over a few ground rules. The meeting is being funded by tax dollars, therefore we want to focus on government issues and stay away from politics or discussing any political issues. We won't have time to take every caller. Callers will be able to press 0 and connect with county staff and share some of their thoughts on what they want to talk to the chairman about tonight. And then you'll be placed into a queue to be connected live on the air. But again, we won't be able to get to every caller. If you can't stay on the line with us tonight, press 9 and leave us a message. If you have a specific question, tell us how to get in touch with you, and you will get a call back from one of us. Also, at the end of the call, you'll have an opportunity to leave a voicemail for us. So stay on the line. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. Again, at any time, you can press 0 to connect with county staff, and we may be able to take your call or your comment and question live on the air.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jenny. Maybe we'll get right into just telling you a little bit about county government and how we're structured. The county board is 21 members that each have about 35,000 bosses. That's you guys that are basically in charge of electing us in 21 different districts. The county board focuses on funding the county government as well as setting policy in several areas where we have jurisdiction. A lot of people don't know that criminal justice and the courts are a big part of our budget and our responsibility as county board members to fund. We also serve a large population through the Lake County Health Department. We've got about 43,000 Lake County residents that rely on us for primary care services. We inspect every restaurant, pools, gym facilities, and all sorts of things. We make sure our drinking water is safe, as well as look out for the health of our lakes and rivers. So a lot to do there. We have 8 elected officials that are elected countywide, and that's our sheriff, our state's attorney, the treasurer, the county clerk, the circuit court clerk, the coroner, the recorder of deeds, and the regional superintendent of schools, some of which you just voted for last month. We have 2,600 employees across 30 county departments, and we've worked very hard to actually reduce the number of those individuals that work for the county through attrition and efficiencies and automation where it makes sense and helps deliver services. So as a result, we've delivered a very fiscally responsible government. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes as folks sign on. But you are signing on to a live telephone town hall meeting. I'm Lake County Board Chairman Aaron Lawler, and tonight we're going to talk about what's on your mind about county government. You know, one of the things that I say about county government is it's all those things that when they're working, you don't really notice them. When the roads are paved or the streets are safe, people are healthy, you don't always see what's going on in county government. But when they're not going well, boy, do you sure notice. When the streets need paving, when people aren't healthy, when crime is up. And so we're going to talk about some of the different initiatives that we have going on. And remember, this is all about us being able to define our strategic plan. Every 4 years, the county board goes through this process and tries to reach out to the public. Now, usually we've gone the traditional route of having those town hall meetings in winter and getting people out at night, and it's just too difficult. So we wanted to give you a chance to weigh in right from your living room.
Okay, Aaron, maybe give a few more reminders as people are coming in. At any time, you'll be able to press 0 and connect with county staff. Tell them what you want to talk to the chairman about, what thoughts and what input you want to provide. Also, if you cannot stay on the line with us tonight, we still want to hear from you. You can press 9 at any time and leave a voicemail message for us, but keep in mind, once you press 9, you will leave the meeting and you won't be able to return. So we do encourage you to stay on the line, listen to the entire meeting, and at the end, you'll also have an opportunity to leave a message for us. So I think we're going to jump into our first polling question.
Exactly. Tonight, we're going to ask you a series of questions about your opinions of county government and overall quality of life in Lake County. So we're going to start with kind of an easy one, right, Jenny?
Sure.
What is the most important issue currently facing Lake County? Press 1 if it's public health and human services. Press 2 if it's crime and public safety. Press 3 if it's transportation options and traffic congestion. Press 4 if it's property taxes. And press 5 if it's the local economy, including job creation. So that's 1 for public health and human services, 2 for crime and public safety, 3 if it's transportation, 4 if it's property taxes, or 5 if it's the local economy. We're going to talk a little bit more and get back to you with those results and see what you're saying.
And we're going to keep that question open for a few more minutes while you cover some of the other information, and then we'll close it out and tell them what they said.
So if you're thinking about it, keep on thinking about it, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're doing in Lake County to promote fiscal responsibility, which is a core value of the county board. One of the differences between Lake County and a lot of counties across the country, and certainly our state government, is that we value a balanced budget, a true balanced budget, and we pass one every year. We're actually one of a fraction of counties across the country that also maintains a AAA bond rating, the highest possible credit rating. And we make sure that we only take that tax levy increase each year when we absolutely need it. And I've got to tell you, with the financial struggles that we're facing from the state of Illinois, we are in very difficult financial times. The state of Illinois accounts for about $130 million in funding that comes from or through the state that we rely on in the county government to provide services that you need and rely on. I want to talk to you a little bit about our budget. Again, a large portion of our budget goes towards public safety and the courts. It's about a third or 30%. And then you get another large portion. Transportation is about 28%. And the health department accounts for a large portion because there are a lot of services there that people don't really realize are in there when they look at environmental health and all sorts of issues, septic tank inspections and so forth. All right.
Why don't we go ahead and close the polling question, and we also have some callers that want to
All right.
see you.
Cool. Let's take our first caller.
Okay. Rick from Libertyville.
Hi, Rick.
Go ahead.
You're on the line.
Hi, Mr. Lawler. Thanks. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about the National Data-Driven Justice Initiative and how Lake County came to be one of the counties to participate, and how you feel that actually helps keep Lake County residents safer.
Well, that's a big question to answer, but one of the best things that we can do is advance more collaboration in the area of data when it comes to our criminal justice system. One of the issues that we have there that's not unique to Lake County is that our jails are becoming mental health hospitals, and we have the need to share information between units of government and nonprofits and service providers in order to deliver the services that are necessary in that area. I might have Barry Burton, our county administrator, talk a little bit more about that, but we were invited to a national conference at the White House. We're one of 20 cities and counties that were engaged in that, and it's truly an honor to be a part of it, but it also shows the work that is there to be done. Barry?
I think it's a great question. Data is going to help us solve this issue. Continuing the practices of the past alone is not going to solve these issues. Aaron mentioned mental health. Part of the issues that we have is collecting the right type of data to where you can take the resources and pinpoint them to the places needed to be able to actually make a difference long term. You know this very well from asking the question. So we look forward to being part of the initiative. We look forward to trying to break down the barriers in Illinois to sharing information to where you can target your services to the people that need them most, and keep them from continuously recidivating throughout the criminal justice system, in the jails, in the hospitals, and in our social service agencies.
Yep. Thanks, Barry. It's a big point for us because if we're not serving particularly those with mental health issues, they're ending up in one of three places: our jail, homeless on our streets, or in our emergency rooms, and none of those are good options. So you've reported into us on your priorities, on what's most important in Lake County. By far, no surprise, number 4, property taxes. 64% think it's the number one issue, followed by public health and human services. That's good to hear. That's a large county service. As well as transportation was the third ranking priority at 11%. Crime and public safety came in with 7%. And finally, local economy, including job creation, came in at 3%. Very, very good feedback. So let's talk a little bit more about transportation. Lake County is committed to investing in our roads and infrastructure. We've dedicated 100% of our 0.25% sales tax to our road program. There's a big backlog in Lake County on our need to expand our road system, particularly our county highways. But the county board has set a priority that if we can invest in a transportation project, it necessarily shouldn't matter if it's a state road or a county road, because that's not what motorists see. All they see is that they're in traffic. And so we've developed a program that is responsive to that and invests large amounts of money in a targeted manner where they have the biggest opportunity to reduce traffic congestion. But there's a lot more to that. We have 500 miles of trails for pedestrians and cyclists. We have a mass transit system that Lake County is involved in through our appointment to the Metro Board, RTA, and PACE. For those of you that commute on Metro, there's infrastructure that you commute on that dates back to the Roosevelt administration. And I'm not talking about the Franklin Delano Roosevelt administration, the Theodore Roosevelt administration. It speaks to a $30 billion backlog, $30 billion in need for capital for our mass transit system, which is critical to fueling the Chicago region's economy. Let's take another caller, Jenny.
Okay.
How about a transportation-related question, maybe? All right. I've got Evelyn from North Barrington. Evelyn, you're on the line.
I'm wondering why Cuba Township does not have a bus for their senior citizens to go on trips.
You know, that's a great question. Each township has the ability to provide that service through their own budgeting process, but they're all independently elected. We have 18 townships in Lake County that each run services that are tailored to their residents and to a lot of seniors. We are working at the county level to prioritize paratransit and coordinate a borderless transportation system so that individuals who need to get from one place to another, whether it's to the grocery store or a doctor's appointment, that they don't have to have their trip end at some arbitrary township boundary. That's work that's being supported by grants from the RTA in a coordinated fashion. We're bringing everybody to the table there: township supervisors, mayors, county board members, subject matter experts, folks that provide services to our disabled community, like the Lake County Center for Independent Living and others. So it's an area we need to work together on, but we also have to recognize that it takes money. We can do it in a way that is efficient, effective, and necessary. Right now we've got about 50 different providers that provide paratransit in Lake County. I think fewer might be able to do better when it comes to providing an efficient system. So that's a great question.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you.
We take another question, and then we could do a polling question, Aaron.
That sounds great. All right, we've got Josh from Buffalo Grove. You're on the line. Hey, Josh.
Hi there. How are you, Aaron?
Good. How are you?
Very well. My question has to deal with pass-through funding from the federal government, and your thoughts are of the new administration coming in and any potential changes or reductions in funding from the federal government passing through the state to the county.
Well, our federal funding pass-throughs come in several different areas. One of them goes to the health department to fund There are federal programs related to healthcare, to substance abuse, through SAMHSA and other grants. Our ability to provide and secure funding in the area of substance abuse is absolutely critical. And it's critical not only to those who suffer from that addiction, but to the broader discussion on mental health, because so many of these people have dual diagnoses where they have a mental health issue and a substance abuse problem. So that federal funding is important. The other areas where we receive funding are the community development block grants, which provide money in a few key areas. One is affordable housing. One is for combating homelessness. There's also a broader public services fund that allows us to put forth money to emergency shelter, food banks, and the like, as well as public infrastructure, money to invest in water and sewer, transportation infrastructure in low-income areas. We also get a fair amount of federal money to develop our workforce. That's a key area in Lake County and probably our main competitive advantage when you look at our ability to attract people and employers there. So I can't pontificate on what's going to happen in the administration. I will say that the cabinet that's being put together is pretty interesting, and we're just going to wait and see how things progress. But one of the great things that I like about serving in county government is that we're big enough to be a little bit more autonomous than most, and we're able to really make a difference on our own. The county board has set priorities like investing $300,000 in general fund money to a critical need, and that's affordable housing. It came up right through one of our strategic plans, and that's how we started, or one of the reasons that we started to invest that money. Finally, to your question, we also really, really value the federal money that we get around homelessness, but we've looked at local ways to address that issue. And my goal would be to accelerate our mission to end homelessness, and particularly veterans' homelessness in Lake County. I participate on an annual basis in what they call a point-in-time survey, where we go out in the middle of the night from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. to survey homeless individuals, get them into shelters, and hopefully use that data to get more funding. But it underscores the problems that we have in Lake County that people might not recognize. Right, Jenny?
Yes. Maybe this segues well into our next polling question, but really about the budget and the county's fiscal condition. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that and the way that the state's financial situation is impacting the county. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, the county board recently passed a new budget. It's about a $420 million spending plan. We have a lot going on there. But one of the big issues, as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, is the amount of money we get from the state of Illinois. When you add it all up, they owe us about $5 million at any given point that we have to absorb. We know there are going to be cuts. We are in an unprecedented second year of not having a state budget. And what it really does is larger organizations like the county are sometimes able to weather that storm. But it is degrading our human services network, our nonprofit organizations that provide critical services to the disabled, those with health issues and so forth. That is an infrastructure that you aren't going to build right back up. But for all of the things that we're talking about, criminal justice, the health department, all these services, it's done on about 7% on average of your property tax bill. We invest wisely. We make sure that we save up and we're able to pay for large projects with cash. About 3.7% is all we spend on debt service. So a very small percentage of our budget goes towards debt service. And again, having a AAA bond rating keeps our borrowing costs as low as possible. We have 100 fewer employees than we did 5 years ago, and we've made these reductions without adversely impacting the services that you rely on. So a lot of good work there.
Aaron, let's go ahead and take a polling question. I can go ahead and present it for everybody. Okay, so which of the following priorities would you want Lake County to continue to pay for if state funding is cut, even if it means relying more on your property taxes? Okay, so press 1 if it's health department services such as mental health and addiction treatment programs. Press 2 if it's important to protect court services such as divorce and civil services, probation, and victim witness counselors. Press 3 if it's investing in transportation infrastructure, including maintaining and expanding the county highway system. Press 4 if it's investments in technology, including systems that improve online access to services. And press 5 if you think it's public safety, which includes sheriff's, highway patrol, and 911 dispatch. Again, we're asking which of the following priorities would you want Lake County to continue to pay if state funding is cut, even if it means relying more on your property taxes. I'll quickly go over, not reading everything again, but press 1 if it's health department services, 2, court services like probation and victim witness counselors, 3, transportation infrastructure, 4, investments in technology, and 5, if it's public safety, which includes sheriff's, highway patrol, and 911 dispatch.
Thanks, Jenny. I actually wrote this question because I felt it was important for residents to put it in context. Most of the services that we provide are statutorily mandated or required in some other manner, and so it's important that we know what you value the most. The service level is really what's up for discussion, and we want to make sure that as we get these cuts, and they will come, that we have the ability to be responsive to meet the needs that you have. So we'll see how that's going in.
Okay.
But I'll talk a little bit more now about what we do in the areas of economic development. People might not know that a big part of the county's job is to invest in economic growth opportunities. It's a big issue, and it's kind of behind the scenes, the work that we do. But we're investing in everything from growing our workforce to our infrastructure to all those things that make it more attractive for a business to locate here. But workforce is by far the number one thing when we visit Lake County businesses that they want to hear about. We have one of the best workforces in the state of Illinois, with over 42% of our workforce having an advanced degree, a college degree or higher. And so it allows us to attract top-notch businesses. We've got 12 Fortune 500 headquarters, 30,000 businesses, and a workforce of 400,000 people. And so the question is, how can we make that even better? So we're doubling down on workforce development issues by integrating businesses' needs with training opportunities that will help them hire new people, and then backing that up with hopefully workforce funding for grants that can help the business defray those costs. It's very, very important. We're also working on the issue of our young professionals. When I talk to businesses, both large and small, they worry about access to quality talent. And with a large demographic of baby boomers retiring, we've got to prepare that next generation. We've got to make sure that they have the skill sets necessary to take those spots in local businesses. We hear about issues with soft skills more than anything, and so we're working to develop programs there. The key thing that you'll hear in Lake County that's a little different than other areas is we lead with our strengths, and our strengths are our people. We don't start with tax incentives that are a race to the bottom that go into your wallets and usually don't provide the return on investment that you think they might. So a very aggressive push here, but we're very, very fortunate to have that thriving business community where we focus on both large companies like Abbott to our small Main Street mom-and-pop stores.
Just going to give a quick few reminders to everybody out there. You know, this town hall meeting is going to last an hour from 7 to 8 p.m. If for some reason you can't stay on the line with us, we still want to hear from you. You can press 9, but you will leave the meeting and you won't be able to return. At the end of the meeting, there will also be an opportunity for you to leave a message for us. Please leave your number or your email so we can get back in touch with you. We're going to take a caller, Aaron?
Let's take John from Mundelein. Hey, John, you're on the line.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. Compliment the county. I've lived here 58 years, and things just go wonderfully, but I've been in public education all my life, business manager, superintendent, and what concerns me is too many times the county board members will mention how they will help reduce real estate tax, and in reality, that just doesn't happen. That's a big frustration for me too.
Yeah,
majority of the taxes that we pay, go to schools, park district, library districts, community college, and a couple % go to the county, which is fine. So I would hope that the county board members understand that they're not going to really do much for the local real estate. It's the local citizens dealing with the local taxing bodies.
I can't agree more. And you look at the statistics on property tax growth, and you have to remember that somebody will throw out a large number because they are big numbers on property tax growth, but they don't talk about the component pieces of that growth. There are referendum-approved dollars in there, both operating and capital. There's new growth that accounts for taxing new parcels that come online as they are constructed. You're always going to take that growth. There are other things. So there are SSAs, special service areas, where residents choose to tax themselves. So a lot of different component pieces. What it gets to is there's not one person to blame or one area to focus on. It's a multifaceted issue that includes state funding for education, down to the number of units of government we have, and fiscal restraint among those who have the authority to levy taxes. So it's a very important issue. I want to see a conversation where we look at consolidating units of government. Lake County recently got the authority that DuPage County already has to consolidate county board appointed units of government. These are probably districts you may have never heard of, from drainage districts to sanitary districts to paper fire districts and others. I've got to tell you, I appoint 300 people to 70 different boards and commissions, and these are good people. But at the end of the day, we have to look at this number. When you have a fire district that's 0.83 square miles, something's got to give. We've got to look at efficiencies. We've got to look at opportunities to collaborate. These economies of scale have the opportunity to provide real value for taxpayers. But as your county board chairman, I'm focusing on where I have the authority to make a difference. A broader conversation needs to happen about all of these taxing bodies. I'll leave you with one statistic. When you look at municipalities or townships in Lake County compared to other counties around the region, DuPage County has 200,000 more people and half as many townships. Lake County has one township for every 37,000 people. DuPage County has one for every 100,000 people. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's the difference, and that difference costs money. So we're working to advance the conversation on consolidation, also in the area of 911 dispatch, where we have the opportunity to save $10 million out of the $33 million a year that we spend on our nearly 40 call centers that take 911 calls and 20 different boards that oversee them. So a lot of work to be done there. Thank you. So we're going to report out on our polling question. I can't read it.
Sure.
All right. So this was the question about what you value most, even if it counted on your property tax dollars or more of them. Pretty evenly split, more so than our last question, but top thing was public safety, which includes Sheriff's Highway Patrol at 35%. 25% of you value investing in transportation infrastructure. 24% said health department services such as mental health. And 10% said investing in technology, including systems that improve access to customer service options. And protecting court services came in last at 6%. All right, well, people aren't always in the best mood when they're in court, so maybe that influenced that question. We're going to take Amy from Lincolnshire. Hi, Amy, you're on the line.
Hi, Aaron?
Hey there, how are you?
Hey, good, how are you? Well,
good.
It's kind of going along the lines of the same thing that has been discussed throughout the discussion was, mental and drug abuse issues that people are having. And I'm curious, like, if there's a way to start influencing more things that the youth or you guys could contribute to, like, the youth programs, or like to get into like high schools or even middle school, so it's more of a preventative measure instead of trying to take care of what's already going on that we realize is a real issue. So I was curious, like, how that's gonna
sure.
Come on, Don.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I really appreciate you bringing it up, because this is part of a not just a Lake County problem, but a national crisis in the area of mental health. Youth depression, anxiety, and suicide is certainly one of the most frightening statistics when you look at this overall issue. And so we have to make sure that we're addressing things like cyberbullying and other things. But with the Mental Health Coalition that I formed and that I'm co-chairing with former State Senator Susan Garrett, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel or duplicate efforts. We're bringing it all together to have a comprehensive approach on mental health services. Where you look at where we're falling short, it's in a few key areas. There's a national shortage of psychiatrists. I got to tell you, when I was out doing the point-in-time survey that I mentioned earlier, I met a guy named Terrence. He was 33 at the time. I was 33. He was a drug addict, and he was homeless for the first time, and he was bipolar, so a dual diagnosis there. And he couldn't get in to see a psychiatrist for 3 months. And so the question came to me of, how can we expect Terrence to stay housed and employed and get where he needs to go without having an episode if we can't provide him with consistent care? And so that's why this issue is so important. Beyond the shortages of psychiatrists, we know that a huge part of the problem is housing. We need more supportive housing for individuals that have issues from mental health to general disability. We need supportive housing for our veterans population in many cases. And in these areas, it's incumbent upon us to ask the question, where can we put them? There's that saying, not in my backyard. Well, it's going to go in someone's backyard, and these are our fellow residents. We need to care for them. We need to find an appropriate place where they can have a stable and successful and meaningful life. So I believe very strongly in that. But as Barry mentioned earlier, and I'll close on this with this question, it all comes down to the data. If you can't measure it, it doesn't matter. So we're looking at national best practices on how we can integrate criminal justice data with healthcare data to better understand where our recurrent populations of people that are constantly going through the emergency rooms or constantly going through the jails and see how we can better serve them at a lower cost. And that's really what it comes down to. Our jails should not be mental health hospitals, but that is what they have become in many cases, and that increases costs to you when it comes to property taxes. So thank you very much. We'll be reporting more out on that. Let's go into our next question. It was the biggest priority, or maybe the second biggest priority in the last question, and that's transportation. Improving transportation is a top strategic goal for Lake County, and we're investing, as I mentioned earlier, 100% of that 0.25% sales tax. It's $500 million in projects over the next 5 years that will help add capacity, do intersection improvements, pedestrian and bike path projects, as well as technology. And I think that's really important. We're not just investing in pavement, but we're trying to make the system better and smarter. Additionally, local leaders have a consensus plan, which is a list of state transportation projects in Lake County, in order to speak with one voice. And that plan has been so successful that other counties have gotten jealous in our ability to get funding through IDOT by speaking with one voice. So what do you think? There are a lot of transportation priorities that come with big price tags. What's the most important one to you? Press 1 for traffic congestion. Press 2 for quality of roads. Press 3 for availability of public transit. Or press 5 for all of the above. 4, sorry. So that's 1 for traffic congestion, 2 for quality of roads, 3 for availability of public transit, or 4 for all of the above. We're going to keep that question open while we go to our next topic. There we go. Public safety. A lot of times people don't understand that their property taxes go to running the criminal courts, paying for the coroner, the sheriff, other public safety agencies, the state's attorney's office, and the public defender. So it's a large responsibility that we have. And Lake County is doing some particularly groundbreaking work in this area under the leadership of many of our justice partners, like our circuit court judges, and our state's attorney, Mike Nierheim, who has spearheaded an effort on the opioid epidemic that is sweeping this country. The Lake County opioid epidemic has won national awards for its work to really break down the various parts of the issue and take each of them head on. For example, Lake County law enforcement has saved more than 100 people during the past 2 years by using naloxone, the antidote for a heroin overdose. Previously, this wasn't available or wasn't allowed for officers to carry it in their squad cars, but they're the first ones on the scene. Before the ambulances come, they are in there securing the scene, making sure things are safe before the ambulances even let in. So when minutes matter, this could make a real difference, and we've seen it happen right here in Lake County. We're also working to advance what's called CIT training, or critical incident training, crisis intervention training as well, in order to make sure our officers know how to handle instances where they're responding to a call that has somebody that has a mental health issue or some other condition. There are key triggers that can either escalate the situation very quickly or diffuse it to a calm, manageable scenario. So that training is absolutely critical. The problem is, of course, the state doesn't have the funding or the capacity to provide sufficient space to get enough officers through that program. We need to make sure that we have at least one on every shift, and hopefully some duplicity there, so that we have some good redundant services available for those that have mental health issues and interface with the criminal justice system. So the courts are broken into, obviously, the civil and the criminal justice sides. We focus a lot more on the criminal side than we do the civil side, but focusing on things like drug court, mental health court, veterans court. These are programs that not just help people stop recidivating, but it transforms lives. And so by looking at an individual on a comprehensive basis, by looking at housing, employment, general health, as well as their mental health and any related addictions that they have, we are going to be able to set them up for success. Those are the types of programs that we're investing on through our public safety and justice system. So a lot of good work going on there. Let's take another caller. We've got, how about number 2, Cynthia Maloney. Hi, Cynthia, you're on the line.
Aaron, hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, good. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. What's your question?
I wanted to ask about public transportation. First of all, I really appreciate all the commitment that the county has shown and the work that you all have put in on improving public transit with Dial-A-Ride and, for seniors and people with disabilities. And I'm concerned, though, about the veterans that are seeking, job training, who have trouble getting around, and low-income people who don't have a way to get to work. And I see that a lot in my job as township supervisor, and I think it also relates to health care and just all kinds of different issues that could make our county, our beautiful county, an even better place. So I'm wondering what the county has in mind in the future, if you can see an expanded role for the county in helping veterans and low-income people get to work.
Sure. That's a question we get all the time. And like I said, with that $30 billion backlog, it really puts it into perspective what priorities actually are when you have that kind of shortfall. So we're very fortunate to have our transit board members be local representatives of our county. You may not know their names, but they do an outstanding job for you. For instance, Norm Carlson is our Metro board member. I appointed him, and he was the only board member that brought operating railroad experience to the Metro board, which might be important when you're running a railroad. Linda Soto, the mayor of Haynesville, is our PACE representative and an outstanding resource. She's riding the buses right now. I'm sure she'd be happy to bring you out with her to understand what are impediments to transportation with PACE. While there might not be funding available, we want to know how big the problem is and what the impediments are. Is it a lack of a sidewalk, a lack of a bike rack, a shelter, a place to sit that is impeding somebody from really taking public transportation? Is it schedule performance or some other issue? But it's important that we address these issues so that we can provide that opportunity for people to get to work. One of the things in that area in general that Lake County has been a leader on regionally is our Shuttlebug program that connects employees from metro stations to their place of employment. It's called the first mile, last mile, and Metro thinks that is the biggest impediment to taking public transportation. But a lot of people ask questions about this. It's very important, but it's also important to understand the limitations that we have because of the ability to pay for things. So that's kind of what's going on.
Also, just remind folks, if you are interested in talking to the chairman and sharing a comment or a question, press 0 and you will be connected with county staff. We still have about 25 minutes or so we have time to take some more questions.
Well, and one other thing, Cynthia, it's important that we complete the paratransit study that our LCC-TSC is currently doing. That's going to provide a lot of information about what the need truly is.
Should we close out the poll we have open?
Yeah. So for your priorities for transportation, the biggest response was congestion at 32% as a priority for transportation spending. Next was the availability of public transit, and next was quality of roads, followed by all of the above at 15%. So a lot going on there.
Okay. So the next thing we were going to talk about, Aaron, was the county board's healthy communities priority and a little bit about sustainability.
All right. Well, this is a key area, and this is one that our residents really like. When it comes to recycling, we are by far and away a leader in this area. The county board set an aggressive goal a number of years ago that we want to see 60% of all of our refuse be recycled. And we put into place a number of recommendations in that area to achieve that goal. But I'll tell you, whether it's electronics recycling or recycling of prescription drugs, we're focusing on this, and Lake County residents are responding, and we consistently lead this effort. We are about 5% of the state's population, but we make up, I think, over 25% of the prescription drugs that are recycled through the state program. And it doesn't mean that we are taking more prescriptions. It means that that we truly value those programs. Same thing for electronics funding. And boy, do you guys rely on this. It's important for people to know that funding for that program is based on state legislation that was passed several years ago. Unfortunately, it's no longer relevant and not producing in the same way that we thought it would. The county board has stepped up along with SWALCO and our municipal partners and are providing funding to continue the electronics program. But the next time you hear that it might go away for good. We need the state legislature to act. It's their responsibility to work on this issue, and we have some great legislators spearheading this. But when I hear things like they can't stand up to the manufacturers, it's too powerful of a lobby, well, I think this is an important service, and they need to stand up for our residents on that area. Lake County also provides wastewater and water services to a number of residents. A lot in my district, Vernon Hills, 100% of our residents are on Lake County water and sewer, and we've got a lot of work to do there when it comes to a sustainable environment. We're leading a charge called the Des Plaines River Watershed Working Group, and it's all about improving the quality of the water of the Des Plaines River, which is a critical natural resource. We've got to get the phosphates and nitrates and all the other toxins out, and that takes a lot of work. And we're also seeing increased regulations coming out of the US EPA, and the incremental cost of meeting them is getting harder and harder and higher and higher. We're also working, when it comes to healthy communities, really investing in prevention. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That's really what we're doing there. And it's everything from the health department to our community development department and our housing providers. Finally, when I talk to millennials, one of the ideas about the millennial generation is that everybody wants to go out onto the city and that Lake County wouldn't be attractive to them. Well, we're leading a charge against that and proving it wrong. Now, I'm never going to be able to convince an early 20-something to move up from Wrigleyville and pluck him off his bar stool at John Barleycorn. But we're seeing, if you look at the data, as they age into their later 20s, they are looking for a suburban environment, starting a family, perhaps having kids. That's where we want to be there to catch them with an attractive place to live, with walkable communities, a variety of communities from urban, suburban, and rural, and then different opportunities for entertainment. So we're working with our local partners and our economic development folks to make sure we're delivering on that because it's a key quality of life issue that's going to continue attracting that workforce to want to live and work here. Okie dokie.
Why don't we were just talking about the local economy a little bit, about the workforce. Why don't we do another polling question related to that?
Perfect.
Number 4.
Okie
dokie. Right.
All right. Which of the following efforts to grow our local economy are most important to your career, family income, or business? Press 1 if you think it's working with existing businesses to address their needs. Press 2 if you think it's attracting new business. Press 3 if you think it's preparing the next generation of workforce to fill positions as older generations retire. Or press 4 if it's all of the above. So it's 1 for a priority of us working with existing businesses to address their needs. 2, to attract new ones. 3, if it's preparing the next generation to fill positions like I just talked about. Or 4, if it's all of the above.
Okay, we can leave that open for just a little bit. We have a caller on the line that wants to talk about transportation, specifically the Milburn Bypass. John from Lindenhurst.
Sure.
And
hey, John, you're on the line.
Hi.
Hi. What's your question? Hey, good. Good to have you.
The Milburn Bypass, the money was appropriated about 10 years ago for that, and nothing's being done. Is there a reason for that?
That is an important project for congestion relief and getting rid of that juggernaut up there. Barry Burton's been working on it the whole time, and there have been a number of challenges that we've been working on to deliver that project as quickly as possible. I'm going to have him talk about it.
Well, it's a good time because if a year ago we couldn't have told you exactly where it was at, today we can. The project is actually very close to being let out for bid. It's probably either going to make a state, as you know, the county funded it, but it's a state project. The state is actually building it, so we're on their timeline. Sometimes that's to our detriment. But in this particular case, we've been assured that it's going to be out for letting, so in other words, bidding, sometime next year. It'll either be they do a spring and then they do a summer. So hopefully it will make one of those two. The issues have been designed, okay, on some of the areas. I had to go through some areas with forest preserve and some other sensitive areas. So it was on trying to address some of those type of design issues. But again, we've been on top of that, working with the state, pushing them to release this. They said that they are very close to design and it should be ready for the letting either in the spring or in the summer.
So that is a big project. We also completed recently the largest project in Lake County history, the grade separation at Rollins Road in 83. I guess it seems like yesterday, but it took quite a while to grade separate that intersection and bring the railroad tracks up over the roadway. But it's made a transformational difference in that area in reducing congestion. And that's where you have a partnership, and it's not just the county looking at county highways. It's the county working with the railroad company and the state to address our transportation needs. You're seeing that with the Washington Road grade separation, another key project. And we have more like them. But we need your help to advocate for transportation projects because often folks with their busy lives and schedules, getting kids to and from soccer and stuff, aren't always able to come to meetings in the evening like this. But your voice is critically important to your elected officials. All right, let's take another caller. We're doing a large project in downtown Waukegan. Let's talk to Canty from Waukegan. Canty, you're on the line.
Yes. Hi, Aaron.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. My name is Kathy Charity. The question is, do you have any idea when the downtown court construction will be finished?
Well, that's a big project that we've been working on, and it's very important for people to understand the need for it. We've got to do a number of different things. The first thing we had to do was construct a tunnel underneath Washington Street to allow for more efficient and safer transfer of inmates from court to the jail and back. The next phase of the project is building the actual tower itself, where we've planned judiciously, a pun I guess intended, in order to make sure we have enough space for our judiciary now and in the future. We'll be shelling 2 of the floors for future expansion. And then the third phase is the integration into the existing building and the walkway over Washington Street, which will be reskinned in a glass, kind of skyway and allowed for public and staff to utilize. One of the biggest problems we have, in addition to our actual, facility needs, our space needs, is actually safety. We currently have hallways that transport both judges, jurors, and inmates. It's not a safe situation, and we've got to fix it, so we're working on that. But to answer your question directly, it'll be done in March of 2018. And then we'll be looking at additional justice partner or justice facility needs. We've got the Depke Center in Vernon Hills, my district, where recent state law requires 17-year-olds to be housed or detained in juvenile justice. This puts a strain, putting an additional population in a judicial detention facility that we hadn't planned for years. But we're working to provide more space at that facility, particularly for our child defendants and witnesses and victims. We have to take special care of these individuals to make sure that their confidentiality is maintained, they have adequate space to conference with their attorneys and their parents, and our staff has just been wonderful because they've been working on top of each other, in some cases literally, for a number of years. So we're providing more space there to this critical and mandated service. All right, we're going to talk about the local economy next.
Yep, we have a poll open. I think we're going to go ahead and close it, maybe tell everybody a little bit about the results. This was which of the following efforts to grow our local economy were most important to you? All
right. Well, you said all of the above was the largest response, tied with attracting new businesses. That's really good feedback. The next one was working with existing businesses, and the final one was preparing the next generation. Well, like I said earlier, we lead with our strengths, and our strengths are our people. So when a business wants to come in, we don't just offer a tax incentive right off the bat. I actually led an effort to develop a policy on how your tax dollars are used when it comes to developing tax incentive policies. We want to make sure that there is what's called a but-for provision. But for the investment or the incentive, they wouldn't have come, so that it's absolutely necessary to provide it. We want to make sure that they're doing what they say they're going to do. And so we have clawback provisions that if we give them the incentive and they don't perform, that we're pulling back on that. And usually our tax incentives are performance-based and based on sales tax revenue, so that if they don't produce the sales, they don't get the incentive. But primarily, as I said before, workforce is the number one thing that we can do. And the last thing is what we can do as local government to help them deliver their projects faster. Companies that I talk to sometimes don't care about those tax incentives. They want predictability, and they want to know they're able to get their building up in 18 months, get operational, and start earning a profit. So we retooled our whole system in Lake County on how we deliver permitting. It's a one-stop shop. You don't have to go all over the place. Previously, residents would have to go to Waukegan for their planning permits, Libertyville for transportation access, maybe Lindenhurst for a septic, or Libertyville for a public works permit. We integrated that all in one place. They actually only see one person, a project manager, who goes around and works the process for them. Much more efficient system. We've been doing it for years. Places like Chicago just adopted it recently.
Okay, we have just about 10 minutes left, so I'm just going to give a couple quick reminders. Press 0. We might be able to take a couple of more calls. Also, you will have an opportunity to leave a message for us at the end of the call. If you have a specific question, make sure you give us your information so we can get back in touch with you. Also, leave your email address for us, and we can sign you up to receive regular updates from your county board member.
All right, let's take another caller. We've got some folks still in the queue. Mike from Ingleside, you're on the line. Hey, Mike, you still with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you for taking my call.
Hey, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, it's really the taxes. I know everybody gripes about their taxes, but unfortunately my taxes have gone up 30%. My taxes have gone up 30%. My assessed value has gone up 30%, and I'm trying to figure out when it's going to stop. Because I don't know how much more I can afford a 30% increase in 2 years. And I think what it is, Illinois there's a lot of government. Like we have Grand Township and we have the county. I'd rather my taxes go towards the county, and are we going to reduce the government? We have our own well and septic in our community, and we pay for our, I just can't afford a 30% increase in 2 years.
I hear you, and unfortunately, this is the most complex and confusing thing that I hear from residents. Illinois has not done us any favors in how they structured their property tax code, and unfortunately, the Speaker of the House, I don't see any opportunity for us to improve that, because that's how he makes a living. So it's not likely that we're going to see amendments that meaningfully make the system more fair or less broken. So let's see what we can do about it. Here in Lake County, I'm responsible for appointing the Board of Review. They have worked to try and increase one-on-one assistance, educational opportunities, and other things so that residents are aware of how the system works when they have the opportunity to appeal, because it's only that 30-day window after you get your property assessment notice, the blue sheet you get in the mail. And also work through the various opportunities for homestead exemptions. Many of our seniors and other populations don't realize all of the different homestead exemptions that are available to them. We've got to focus on that. But as you mentioned, the number of units of government is crippling not just Lake County, but the state of Illinois. We have more units of government per capita here than any other state. And so it's important that we really address a meaningful discussion on consolidation that doesn't just focus on consolidation for the sake of consolidation, but consolidation for tax savings for you. So that's really, really important for us to focus on. We need local units of government to stand with us, to look at these issues, and to break down the turf wars. There's really no need for them. There are opportunities here for us to do great, groundbreaking things in a manner that's going to really deliver results for our residents. We're trying to make the appeals process more efficient as well, where residents can now e-file their appeal or do it via phone. So very important stuff. But remember, while you pay your property taxes to Lake County, and this is a common misconception, about 70% of that goes to schools. So we are literally just taking in the money and dispersing it back. We don't have any veto power over the various districts. They all have their own, usually elected boards that make those decisions on how much to budget and how much to tax. All right, well, we've got a couple more things to ask you. One kind of builds on the discussion I was talking about with our permitting process. A lot of folks interface with the county in a lot of different ways, whether it's through our permit center in Libertyville, through our Department of Transportation, our health department, and of course our justice partners. So we want to hear from you. If you have had contact with any Lake County department or office within the last 12 months, what was the overall customer service you received? Press 1 if we exceeded expectations. Press 2 if we met your expectations. Press 3 if improvement was needed. And press 4 if it was unsatisfactory. Now, I want you to call us if you were not happy. You can call me or shoot me an email, or at the end of the meeting, there will be an opportunity for you to leave a message so that we can make sure we get your feedback and take any corrective action. Or if you have a compliment, those are always good to hear too. So we'll start the voting. We'll leave it open for a little while longer. But customer service is a key area that we're trying to focus in on, and one of the ways that we can really deliver for county residents is through the use of technology. Maybe Jenny can talk about some of the things we're doing in our communications department through our maps online that are very popular in promoting county services and interactive opportunities for residents to get information, and other things that we do to talk to our residents.
Sure. We launched a new website earlier this year, and a lot of folks come to the website to access information. But we added a online form that people can request a service. So whether it's wanting to fill a pothole or anything that they need help from county government, it's easy to fill out a form, and we'll make sure you get connected with the right person in county government to get that service, to respond to that request for service. All of our county board members have newsletters. We encourage residents to sign up for those newsletters and to get important information about property taxes, about transportation and road projects. Just today, board members sent out an emergency notification about the severe frigid temperatures that are going to be affecting our area and some safety precautions that go along with that. Lake County and several of our departments are also on Facebook and Twitter. So if you are on those social media channels. We encourage you to come and find us and connect with us on Facebook. You can find us at Lake County IL.gov, and on Twitter, it's at Lake County IL. And Aaron, you mentioned this, but I'll remind everybody that the input used tonight will be shared with the county board as the county board updates its strategic plan later or next year. And all of that is available on our website. If people are interested in learning the details about some of the things you're talking about tonight, they can check it out there.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's all about what are we doing tonight? You know, we're trying to get information that can be useful in crafting our next strategic plan. And usually when I talk to residents about a strategic plan or we work on one for one of the other organizations that I'm a part of, people's eyes kind of glaze over, and it's important that we get meaningful feedback so that we can craft a inspiring, visionary plan that really addresses future needs in Lake County. One of the things that keeps me up at night as an elected official is the opportunity one of the things that keeps me up at night is the opportunity to make sure that we're providing the employers and employment base and types of communities that people want in order to live and work here in Lake County. When you look at county government, there are a lot of seemingly unrelated issues. Healthcare connects with economic development. Open space connects with health and as well as economic development. So there's all these things that we have to work on because if we don't have those thriving entities, the economy, and other things, we're not going to be successful now in the future. It's all those things that come together.
We have just about 2 minutes left, so we're going to close this question and just let everybody know about the service. Our last question, we just want to let people know, find out their input about the Teletown Hall meeting. So rate how valuable you found tonight's Teletown Hall meeting. This might be something that we'll consider doing in the future. I think we're going to be doing more of these, Aaron.
Yep. You know, you've seen maybe it's been a little bumpy as we've gone through. You've got a lot going on in the room here, but we're trying to provide a new opportunity for residents to share their views from the comfort of their home on especially a cold night like this. If we were doing a town hall tonight, you would have gotten our email and you probably would have not come out because of the frigid temperatures. So we've got a lot to talk about, but this plan is important in our effort to deliver for you. So let's take one more caller. We got John from Buffalo Grove.
Yeah, hi, Aaron. I was calling regarding traffic congestion, but more specifically, what is Lake County proposing or have in the works as far as traffic calming measures, traffic circles, speed humps, other things that can help control the not only the amount but speed of travel, especially through neighborhoods where you have subdivisions that were originally designed as what they called feeder streets, but now have become thoroughfares for people to avoid the major thoroughfares.
You know, it's a big issue. Obviously, traffic mitigation is a number one priority. It comes down to money. And I'll tell you, for years, Lake County did not have the same revenue source that our collar counties had in the 4-cent per gallon motor fuel tax. And so that impeded our ability to invest in transportation as much as we needed to. We've looked at everything from roundabouts to at-grade intersections to other things. And so it's important that we look at the best transportation solution at the best cost that has the biggest impact. In some cases, that's a roundabout. In some cases, it isn't. But investing that 100% of our 0.25% sales tax has made up for not having the 4-cent per gallon motor fuel tax. So we're looking at that. We really, really need to focus on both our north-south arterials as well as our east-west arterials. It's going to take state involvement and a future state capital bill that hopefully is performance-based and not politically based on whose district the project is in. But we definitely need help. We've actually done a lot of work in this area as well as it relates to economic development. The Peterson Road Corridor is a great example of that, where we built it out for potential future expansion. We're also integrating with our mass transit system, so that helps getting more people off the roads and onto the mass transit providers like Metro. But we've got to know what those impediments are, why they're not getting on, if it's schedule-based or if it's a fare issue or some other thing, so that we can plan for the future. We realize that to live in Lake County is sometimes to be stuck in traffic, and so we want to be delivering for residents, but also recognize that the solutions that this issue requires is not $1 million issue. It's billions of dollars in infrastructure that needs to be funded. And so it's nights like tonight where we collect information so we know what you prioritize, what would be of most value to you, and how you would support us paying for it. All right, so for the last question on your interactions with county government, it's good to know that the top response was that we exceeded your expectations, 41%. 24% of you said we met your expectations. 28% said improvement was needed, and we're going to work on it with your messages. And a couple folks said that it was unsatisfactory. I want to apologize for you. You're welcome to reach out to me or leave a message so that we can try and resolve your issue. At the end of the day, we work for you.
So our last polling question, if everyone could just tell us what they thought about tonight.
All right. Well, thank you for those of you who stayed on for the full call. Obviously, a lot to go over, but we wanted to know if you found this as valuable. So please rate how you found tonight's Teletown Hall. Press 1 if it was very valuable, press 2 if it was somewhat valuable, and press 3 if it was not valuable at all. I'm going to leave that question open. I want to thank you. I was recently reelected and reelected chairman of the county board. It's an honor to serve in Lake County. We have a wonderful team here, a very dedicated staff, and a great group of constituents across Lake County that help us do our jobs every day by providing feedback like this. So we're going to report out to you. Be sure to reference the county website. A copy of tonight's recording will be on it if a friend wasn't able to attend, and you're going to be able to see the progress of our strategic plan and how we're taking what we learned tonight and shaping it into real policy initiatives that will impact you directly. So it's kind of cool. All right. The survey question was rate how you found tonight's call. The number one response was very valuable at 65%. Somewhat valuable was 32%, and not valuable at all was 3%. So sorry, you can leave a message and tell us what we can improve on so that we can do this again. It's a very cost-effective way to reach out to a lot of people. I want to thank you on behalf of the county board and all of our staff for staying on and providing really good feedback. We are always here to serve, and please don't be a stranger. Thank you, and have a great night.